Hey everybody, it's Rob Jolliffe. It's time for another Ask the Experts. And today we're going to talk about the difference between a CRM system and an ERP system and why they are so different. Okay. All right. During my job selling ERP systems, I often am asked, does it come with a CRM? And the implication is, to me anyway, that a CRM is just a little bit of an ERP system, and it's just like a module, and the the CRM is just the sales department module of the ERP system. And I don't really ascribe to that. I think actually they're very different. So let me give you my take on that. First of all, my name's Rob Jolliffe. I'm a president of Sabre Limited. I'm an expert in supply chain and IT, and particularly ERP systems. And if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you're probably a manufacturing company because that's my focus on these videos, and that you're looking at a smaller mid-market ERP system, which means that you don't want to spend $5 million on an ERP. You want to spend $100,000 or $200,000 on what's called a mid-market ERP software and implementation, everything in. If you like what you're seeing, you want to ask me a question. I have in the description below my Calendly link. You can book a 30-minute appointment with me. If you could just put a brief description in as to what you want to talk about, that'll allow me to prepare for our call. And you can ask me any kind of question you want. And I love to hear from people who've watched my videos and book a meeting with me. All right. So today I want to talk about why ERP and CRM systems are so different, and I think it causes a lot of confusion. I think people who've gone through an ERP implementation that involved CRM elements when they worked at a business that bought a $5 million or $50 million ERP system, they may have a different understanding of ERP and CRM systems than the mid-market. Within the mid-market, generally they're split. There's an ERP and a CRM, and they come sometimes from the same vendor, sometimes from two vendors. But there are two big reasons, in my opinion, that the ERP, CRM, the implementation projects and the software themselves are really radically different. The first is the definition of live for those two systems is really different. What defines go live is not the same. And second of all, the staff involved are really, really different staff usually. It's very rare that we run into having the people who would be heavy users of CRM involved in an ERP project. So let's get into the first part, which are the definitions of what goes live, what go live means. Okay, so ERP systems definition of go live. Whether you know it or not, all ERP systems are inherently regulated by the government. And you'd think, well, no, my government doesn't regulate my ERP, but it does because the tax authority does. You have to submit and you have to follow GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, and you have to be able to submit a tax return at the end of the year. And in order to do that, whether it's the IRS or the Revenue Canada or whatever tax authority, in order to do that, you have to capture all the legal documents and information that they may ask from the order to cash cycle. So an ERP system inherently has all of the pieces and bits in it that if you get audited, allow somebody to go through and audit all the way through all of the documentation. And in an ERP system, you might be audited on how did you value your inventory. You might be audited on did you really make those sales, or were those sales, the collections and the recognition of the revenue for those sales, or the taxes you paid on those sales, were they appropriate? So all of this information is in the ERP system, and it's mandated. So it really makes it kind of easy to define ERP completion because the accounting department knows what they need in order to do that. What you get into this kind of, I guess, the subjective or vague parts of an ERP is where it's just internal only processes, like your production process. But also the other thing is that you, just to finish on this, you're kind of driven by the supply chain. And I have a video called Supply Chain 101 that describes all the documents that are exchanged between businesses. But sales orders and purchase orders and quotations and order acknowledgements and invoices are all standard business documents that ERP systems implement that you're expected to use in conducting business with other companies. So ERP is just really clearly encapsulated as to what its purpose is and why it's there and how it works. Okay, so CRM, though, in my opinion, has no definition of go live. So there is no requirement to define a clear go live because there's no regulation on how you use a CRM. You could do anything you want with your CRM. The sky's the limit. You could start off as simple as you want, or you could go as complicated as you want. So my definition of a CRM go live is as soon as users start putting real data into the CRM system. So if your users are just putting in like the account names and phone numbers and contact names and their email addresses, and that's all they're doing, they're putting those into the CRM and saying, this is our central repository for all our contacts. Maybe they put notes in, but they don't even really need to do that. If that becomes the place where you go to get that information, that's what I call a Rolodex CRM go live, and it's a legitimate go live of a CRM. You are not using it for anything other than a Rolodex. And for those of you who are too young, this was a thing. It was a place to collect business cards and the information and notes and things. And you had it in a little rotary thing so you could quickly go through and alphabetize it and find them. And essentially a CRM could absolutely be used just for that purpose. It's a lot more to a CRM that you can use, but that constitutes a go live of a CRM system. So, I think that some companies might say, no, that's not going live. I'm not live with my CRM just because I use it as a Rolodex. Except you are, because there's live data in it. And it's subjective what constitutes go live. But as soon as somebody's using a system and putting data in it, and that's where that data's critical source is, and it's used day to day in production by people who need that data, that is live. You are live with that system. So comparing your CRM and ERP go lives, ERP is really easy to define because it's driven by the supply chain requirements of the supply chain documents you have to send. It's driven by the government telling you what you need to do from a tax point of view. And it's driven by the way, also your banks, your investors, and other people who want to see you using it in a really particular way so that they can confirm your business is successful. CRM is really hard to define because there's nobody like standing over your shoulder watching what you're doing in it. And it's based on what feels good by the users who are using it and the people who are implementing it. It's very subjective. It's very blurry what defines ERP and CRM go lives. By the way, one last little comment on this is ERP go lives are really objectively measurable when an employee is not following the process. It breaks the next employee or the previous employee's job because they're all connected to each other in a chain. CRM is not like that. A sales rep could just decide to say, screw it, I'm not using the CRM to put any of my opportunities in. I'm keeping them on a spreadsheet. And it's not going to affect anybody other than that person and the sales manager. There's no one else in the organization who's relying on that opportunity data. And so it becomes possible for somebody to just say, I'm not going to use the CRM system. And there's nothing about the CRM inherently that makes that happen. It's just a change management thing. So let's talk about the ERP and the CRM teams, because it's kind of, I'm bridging into that a little bit. The ERP team are going to be all the operational staff of the business. So they're going to be people in purchasing, in production scheduling, in shipping, in receiving, in inventory management, in the accounting department. Now the sales department, sometimes the term sales department is used for what I would call an inside sales or customer service department. They are the one place where there might be a bridge between the ERP and the CRM, but typically they're dealing with orders, hard orders that have been taken from a client, following the sales, the outside sales or the sales executive team. So call them an order desk. And an order desk is not part of a sales team. An order desk just takes orders. The orders come in. They're often defined as sales, but they're not really sales. They're not outgoing and getting orders. They're just taking the orders. So these are people who interact transactionally with versus relationship. They're not a relationship-driven job. They're a transactionally driven job. They're sending formal documents, whether that's invoices, purchase orders, order acknowledgements, packing slips, et cetera, et cetera. They have objective data. Like they know I have to ship 50 of these by this date at this price. They don't have subjective data. Like they're not really worried about when is Bill's birthday and his kids had to go to the soccer match, etc. They are delivering on closed business with known people. This is where I'm using that term order desk. The business is closed. The customer is placing orders with you. Once that happens, it moves into the ERP realm. It's no longer in the sales department's realm. Now, the CRM team are going to be the sales and marketing team. So they're probably never dealing with any of that stuff I just talked about. They operate in a relationship versus transactional way. Even a marketing team is really trying to form a relationship with prospects as opposed to trying to transact with them in real time. You're not, now you might have a website with an e-commerce site on it, but that's often not in the CRM. That often interacts directly with the ERP system. So the people in the CRM, they're having these, keep track of their conversations, keep track of somebody's wife is ill and send them flowers and those types of relationship oriented conversations and transactions. Now, in some industries, the CRM also involves a little bit of project management because the sales cycle goes through some really well-defined things, especially automotive is a great example where there's kind of a cadence, a dance between the sales and the purchasing in automotive. But in general, it is really, really about relationship data. It's very subjective. Now, there is objective data. So you can get like the request for quotation. That's a piece of objective data as opposed to subjective. But you're also having this subjective, like you trying to feel and read the room, which you don't have in ERP at all. You're trying to close business often with unknown people, unknown organizations within the CRM. The purpose of the CRM is to track that relationship to the point of close. Once it's closed, you pass it to the ERP and the ERP takes over from that point. So usually within the ERP department or the departments, they're going to use ERP, whether it's good or bad. They have some kind of structured process they follow, and they're going to try and replicate it or replace it in the ERP with a new structured process. But sales and marketing people often just have kind of their own unstructured way to do things. Now, businesses try and impose structure into the sales and marketing department. But like I said earlier, a sales rep could decide, I'm just doing it my way. This works for me. This is the way that works for me, and so this is the way I want to do it. So because of the ERP team using a system and also having a cover for each other and even work on the same orders with the same customers regularly, it's pretty easy for them to come to a consensus on what they want. But on the CRM projects, it gets harder because sales reps might have a system that they think really works for them. And this is the way they approach customers. This is how they track their notes. And this is how they track their opportunities. And they make a lot of money. They make a lot of sales. So why change it? Why change what ain't broke? And the sales managers need them to change the process because that gives the sales management control over the process. If that person wins the lottery and moves to Fiji, there's somebody else who can step in and take over, and they don't have to learn their cryptic notes and their strange way of tracking things. So how do you deal with these? I mean, these two differences are really, really significant. So what's the process? All right, here's my recommendation. Define your ERP outcomes pretty clearly and what the box is you want to implement the ERP in. Now, if you look at Sabre, what we do is we have these pre-built packaged lists of what features and modules we're going to implement for the customer. We also have pre-done diagrams outlining what the business process flow should be in different industries. But it's pretty structured, and you pick the one that suits you, and you vary within that. It's a little bit bespoke. You need to have the flexibility to bob and weave as you're doing it. It's not absolutely locked in, but it's pretty well defined when you start what the end goal will be. You work towards that end goal and you go live. On a CRM, I would deploy it incrementally. I would start with whatever the least you could get people to start using it is, so that they, again, use it like a Rolodex and just start getting comfortable with using the system. Have the least, most simplistic reporting that you go over on a regular basis with your CRM team, so that you're using this really simplistic system, you're getting them to put some data in, and you're reviewing and reporting on that publicly as a group. Generally, you get all these salespeople together and you go through everybody's last week's transactions or last week's entries in the CRM system to keep track of them and make sure they're keeping up. And once that catches and they're using it regularly, then you add more and you add more. You're live as soon as you start doing those review meetings. The first time you have a review meeting with your sales reps and you go over what they've entered into the system, you are live with the system. You may want to continue expanding and enhancing it, and that's fine. So that subjective nature of CRM, it lends itself really well to not trying to define the goal up front, but rather to kind feel it out as you go, and in what's known as agile, just keep using it. So start using it as fast as you can. And then even if it's just the Rolodex, even if that's all you're doing with your CRM, just start getting it used as fast as you can, measuring its use, and then going back to the team and expanding it, and then using it for more and more. All right, so summary. ERP has a really well-defined objective purpose. CRM has a much more subjective purpose. ERP is very transactional, transaction-focused. CRM is very relationship-focused. And rarely, and this is one of the most important things to understand, rarely do the team members who work on a CRM project and the team members who work on an ERP project, rarely do they interact. And quite honestly, there's very few points of contact between an ERP and a CRM. Everybody's really worried about, I want to reduce double entry, and I want to get the CRM and ERP only make contact on about 5 different points, which almost every system works fine. And it's the least important part of the whole process is where the ERP and the CRM interface, to be honest with you, because any modern ERP system and modern CRM system are going to interface. Okay, so as always, check out the links in the description down below. We have articles and other videos that you might want to watch that are related to this or read. And please subscribe to the channel and like this video and follow our new content as it gets released. You can ring the bell in YouTube speak and click the bell icon so you'll be informed of new videos when they come out. We try and release a new video about once a week. Click the also, don't forget to book an appointment with me if you're interested in chatting about it. This is our contact information. Again, you can book an appointment with me in the link down below, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. I hope you loved this video. Have a great day.